Bernie Sanders laying out a plan to pass parts of President Biden's agenda if Republicans refuse to support the legislation. How would that happen? Well, listen.
We're going to use reconciliation, that is 50 votes in the Senate plus the vice president, to pass legislation desperately needed by working families in this country right now. You did it, we're going to do it, but we're going to do it to protect ordinary people, not just the rich and the powerful.
Reaction now from Kansas Republican Senator Roger Marshall. Well, Senator, a lot of working people in America have lost their jobs and are worried that some of the measures, some of the executive orders that we've seen from the White House right now will not help them get another job back, particularly raising the minimum wage, which, of course, is a death knell to many in the restaurant business. We'll be talking about that later. But what do you think about Bernie Sanders' idea of how to rush some of this stuff through?
Well, between Bernie and the president, this almost sounds Machiavellian. The president is going to do all these executive orders in the first week here, committing all of his sins at one time, and it is killing jobs. It's going to drive the prices up for Americans. It's going to drive the cost of gasoline up at the pump. It's going to drive the cost of electricity up. It's going to make us more dependent upon oil from the Middle East. And then Senator Bernie Sanders' plan, what that's going to create is uncertainty. And I know your business folks don't like that uncertainty of going up and down through this process of budget reconciliation. Just have it reversed again in 2 years, hopefully.
But you know who's hurt most by the uncertainty? It's not the big corporations. They can absorb a lot of these costs. The Silicon Valley companies have no problems paying. They already pay $20 minimum wage for most of their workers. It's the small businesses, the ones that have been hurt the most by these lockdowns all over the country, particularly in the restaurant business. If you double their labor costs, they're never going to get back on their feet, right?
Yeah, that is right. You know, half the jobs in America, at least, are from small businesses, and increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour in Kansas is significant. And what it's going to cause is more mechanization in some of those small businesses, replacing laborers. It's going to drive the cost of a cup of coffee up at McDonald's, so seniors won't be able to afford it anymore. So the net on increasing the wage across the country will backfire. And then regulations even more so. Right. These small companies can't handle these increased regulations and the cost it does to run that small business.
And let's talk about Keystone Pipeline, because not only was that, as Peter Ducey was telling us, a slap at our neighbors to the north, at the Canadians who spent billions of dollars trying to jump through hoops and answer regulatory barriers, and they did so. Now that's been canceled, but it's also a slap to those U.S. oil workers, many of whom were getting very well-paying oil jobs. Now they're going to lose those jobs, and of course American consumers are going to end up paying more at the pump.
Yeah, exactly. Some of those people are my friends that work for those pipelines that were putting that particular the Keystone Pipeline in. So you're right, they were great paying jobs. And of course, just the suddenness of this, without even having the courtesy to call one of our main trade partners. Canada is typically a number 1, 2, or 3 export for most of the products from this country. So it was a slap in the face to Canada, who's been a great partner to America for decades.
Senator, if you will bear with me, I just want to switch to the pandemic for a moment. The new CDC director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, now saying the federal government does not know how many COVID vaccine doses the U.S. currently has. You are a physician. That's your real job, if you will. Are you worried about vaccine shortages?
You know, I'm not. I think that Pfizer and Moderna both have committed to 100 million each by the end of February. We have Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca coming online as well. But what I'm tired of is excuses. You know, what leaders do is make the very complicated simple. Government is making the simple complicated. What we do know is that we've already given out some 40 million vaccinations across the country that need to be put in people's arms. So I'm tired of excuses. We have the infrastructure that we're able to give 3 million flu vaccines in a day across this country. So why don't we use that current infrastructure, using community pharmacists, the county health departments, use that strict infrastructure that's already there. We can do this if we just get government out of the way.
Interesting. And we already have 2 vaccines. We've got another couple on the way, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca. Finally, I want to move to therapeutics. We only have about a minute, but I got a personal story about this. My wife and I had COVID, had COVID bug about a month ago. We tested positive. We immediately qualified for Regeneron infusions. We got them within 48 hours. All of our symptoms were gone. All indications are there's an excess of supply of the Regeneron antibody therapeutic, and there are others, Eli Lilly, et cetera. But we can't get it out quick enough because of regulatory barriers. How can we speed the delivery of those drugs, which help for those people who are infected?
You know, this is so frustrating. These monoclonal antibodies are miracle drugs.
They really
and once
are.
again, we have government getting in the way. Let doctors make the decisions, who they think would benefit from the most. Whatever we need to do to get government out of the way and let the doctors make the decisions. That doctor-patient relationship is what's valuable.
Do you think there's a way, I know there's a lot of still antagonism between Democrats and Republicans, is there a way you personally can work with Democrats to try to get this done? Because this is a miracle drug, and there are still millions of people around the world that are infected by COVID-19 despite the vaccines. We need these therapeutics. Can you work with Democrats to get this done?
You know, absolutely, David, but to your point, instead we're going to be talking about impeachment all week, next week. We're not going to have discussions like this on how do we get the vaccines out, how do we get these therapeutic agents out. When the front page is going to be talking about the impeachment, we need to be talking about how do we get vaccinations in people's arms, how do we get this economy going.
Senator Roger Marshall, good to have another physician in the Senate. We need people with real jobs in there. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on your new tenure as senator. Meanwhile,